So once again, I sincerely thank, many thanks to our school directors for your time, your effort, and planning and serving the Boyertown Area School District. And a special thank you to our AP art students under the guidance of BASH art instructor, Mr. Danero, who took time to help create the thank you cards you received. So thank you.
Student Representative Board.
Good evening, board members and meeting attendees. Feels like forever since we've been here, or well, I've been here. We hope everyone has had a great holiday and a happy new year. It feels odd to be in 2026 as a member of 2026, but it's a great reminder of how long I've spent in the district throughout my education. With a new year and new goals, we can't wait to see what's in store for the school district. Now let's get on with our school board report. During the week of December 15th through December 19th, our school held Wish Week, which was very successful and a positive experience overall for students. The goal of Wish Week was to grant wishes to students and boost school spirit before winter break. Each day had a different theme and reward, like Dunkin', Parma Pizza, and others. Not I myself, but Audrey enjoyed a smoothie from Wawa. Participation was high throughout the week, and students were very excited and engaged. It was a great way to end the year on a positive note. Winter break overall was good and a much needed break for students and staff. It gave everyone time to rest, reset, and come back for a more focused and refreshed new year. Students have come a long way since the beginning of the year, and it's still exciting to see how far we continue to learn and grow. Science Olympiad has been on fire this year. A club that has been very small the past few years has grown exponentially, with 9 groups placing top 5 in their events during a regional competition on January 8th. The students in BASH Science Olympiad have been doing great things in their science events, so we'd like to give them the shout out they deserve for their accomplishments. We're hoping to see continued growth in membership and student achievement at states. Not last week, but a couple weeks ago, students received their course selection cards and are currently in the process of choosing their classes for the next school year. A lot of people have been talking with their friends, teachers, and counselors about which classes to choose, possible internships, and the idea of graduation just a year or a few years away. BASH provides a lot of different options, so it's nice that students can really start thinking about their future, what they're interested in. There are many art and computer science classes, different levels of core classes, and dual enrollment classes. Overall, students are actively discussing their options and thinking seriously about their plans for next year and their future, and course selection is going smoothly so far. Musical tickets are on sale. The music department has been working super hard in their production of The Drowsy Chaperone, and tickets are currently on sale. All students involved have committed a tremendous amount of time and effort to make the production the best it can be. Please consider going out and supporting our talented students in the music department. Midterms were held on January 21st using a modified schedule based on student and staff feedback designed to better support student focus and testing success. The schedule mirrored finals week and gave students dedicated time to test. Midterms counted as 10% of student final grades. On January 21st, students took their ELA and science exams, and the following day they took their math and social studies. The 2-day schedule allowed students to take 2 exams per day and leave after their scheduled exams if they had their own transportation, while students without transportation were able to stay for lunch, tutoring, or plus student space until regular bus dismissal. Overall, the modified schedule helped make testing more organized and less stressful for students, according to Audrey. For our elementary highlight, we highlighted Boyertown Elementary School this year, as they've continued many building initiatives since students and staff returned for the new year. The month of January at BES was dedicated to their bear trait of being considerate. Throughout the building, students were focused on the meaning of the word considerate and how they can demonstrate being considerate in the school, on buses, and in their community. The PTO continues to support the staff and students of BES through various fundraising activities, and next month BES will be hosting a bingo ice cream social event for families and friends. Boyertown Elementary School's book vending machine also continues to be very popular. Students can earn vending machine tokens to purchase books by being recognized for making positive choices in the building. This building initiative has improved the school climate and promoted reading for all students. We look forward to bringing you BASH's best moments next month for February, and as always, thank you all for your time and drive safely.
Thank you. Public comment period number 1, Mr. Savage, Planetarium.
I look forward to your discussion about the planetarium/learning dome this evening. Like many people in this community, I have very fond memories of the Boyertown Planetarium, and our family learned a lot by attending Mr. Detterline's presentations. I would love to see the planetarium resurrected, and I'm thrilled that the Foundation for Boyertown Education and other people in our community are willing to provide funds to help that happen. However, as the board, you have to consider that this does require the use of one-time funds as well as recurring costs. So maybe a good way to think about it is this: can we do the planetarium project and achieve all the other strategic goals we have? I do sincerely hope so. Or do we have to give up something by moving forward with the planetarium project? If we rank the district's wants and needs by priority and cost, where must we draw that line? So while there will be a lot of financial assistance from the community for this, there will be ongoing costs into perpetuity, such as a full-time planetarium director, hardware and software upgrades, training, additional staff needed for after-school and weekend events. Consider the costs that are incurred by any event being held in our schools, custodial, security, etc. And if we rent out the facility regularly, I expect we will need additional staff to run the planetarium at those times. Now, more importantly, how does this fit into the district's strategic plan? What are the highest priorities for meeting the district's goals? Our comprehensive plan calls for at least 77% of all students in grades 3 through 8 taking PSSA, ELA, to score proficient or advanced. And based on PDE data, I don't think we're close to that yet, and we have a lot of work to do. Also, district revenue, in terms of district revenue increases, especially those from the state, we cannot assume them from year to year, as we've been seeing with the fights and the delays in the past year or so. So administration has been, and I assume will continue to recommend and advise you on how to really get that needle moving for improving student outcomes, and it will take resources. And I do hope that the board partners with administration to really understand our district's needs and priorities before voting on the planetarium project, to understand if this is an and or an or. And while this project evokes a lot of emotion, nostalgia, and pride for our community, you as board members have the hard job of balancing that with respect to the fiscal responsibility for the long term. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we're looking for the approval of the January 13th, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Conlon.
Yes.
Ms. Kratz.
Yes.
Ms. Simon.
No.
Mr. Radcliffe.
Yes.
Mr. Radcliffe.
Yes.
Dr. Weir.
Yes.
Dr. Wiley.
Yes.
Mr. Brophy.
Yes.
Mr. Penarello.
Yes.
Ayes have it.
That takes us to the discussion and information section. We do have two items to be discussed this evening. First is an overnight trip. And again, as I've shared in the past, many of our choir competitive festivals do not meet our calendar necessarily as it relates to our board meetings. So we do occasionally have some meetings that we are going to bring to you that we are also going to ask for your consideration of approval in that same evening. So we have two events this evening, two trips, one of which is the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association Region Choral Festival. We do have coming up in February. Again, doesn't necessarily meet well within the parameters of some of our meeting times. So we are going to be asking for your consideration tonight. You can see there the listed costs of what's paid by students, what's not paid by students, the registration, substitute costs, which are accurate, and alike. And you can see that schedule there. The second trip is our Technology Student Association, TSA, which has been a very, very successful association for the Boyertown Area School District over many of decades, and it continues to be a well-attended association, and therefore a very, very competitive association for Boyertown, both regionally and statewide, and even to a certain extent nationally as well. So there is a trip that we are asking for. This is a competition across 3 days. includes high school, middle, and both our middle schools. You can see the number of staff, you can see the number of students estimated for those, and you can see the cost the distribution of costs between the student and the district that's recommended for this particular trip. So again, this is a statewide competition at Seven Springs, which is the traditional landing spot for this particular competition that Boyertown has gone to regularly. So I can answer any questions that the board may have in regards to these two trips. You will see this, and probably have already seen this slated down in the consent agenda section for your consideration for it to move forward. Thank you. The second item this evening is our planetarium/learning dome. Continued conversation. This evening, what was decided was to bring both nonprofit entities back, their association, the Education Foundation, Boyertown, as well as Stellar Dreams, and allow their representatives to speak to any questions that the board may have in relation. You've heard from Mr. Stout at presentation. You've seen a number of figures. We're welcome to pull back that presentation and bring it back onto the screen for the board if it's so desired. We do have, I believe, one entity wants to avail a video to the board and allow the board to view that video. So I'm going to ask if who do we have here this evening? We have Mr. Herb, and we have Ms. Geroff. If you two would like to both come to the podium, or if you want to take turns in coming to the podium. However, to begin a discussion and any thoughts that you'd like to further with the board in relation to this.
Good evening. Is that on? Is this on? No?
No,
Okay. Good evening. My name is Greg Herb, President of the Foundation for Boyertown Education. If I may recognize a couple board members that are here with me this evening. Rod Martin from Martin Stone Quarry serves as our Vice President. Brian Snyder with Provident Bank is our Treasurer, and our Executive Director, Jamie Fox, here on the end. Again, thank you for the opportunity to come back and readdress the Planetarium Learning Dome with you this evening. Just by way of a brief history, your Foundation for Boyertown Education was actually established back in 2013. We are a 501c3 entity, which was established to enrich and enhance our students' educational experiences. Speaking about last year alone, the foundation awarded over $185,000 in grants to the district to fund programs and purchase equipment, tools to support and enhance our students' learning abilities, which is pretty significant. For those that watched or were at the January 13th meeting, I thought Mr. Schoaf's presentation, as far as the tech ed, the foundation alone has contributed over $220,000 in equipment that has really enhanced the learning opportunities for our students at the schools. Our funds come through both EITC contributions, as we are an approved EITC organization. That stands for your Educational Improvement Tax Credits from corporations and businesses, as well as regular donations and fundraisers. The grants from the Foundation for Boyertown Education has really funded a myriad of things. Life skills, STEM and STEAM, science, art, theater, robotics, course tech ed, and much more. We literally have touched the lives of every grade and every building, all elementary schools, both middle schools, and the high school. So to turn the conversation to the Learning Dome, the foundation has spent the last year reviewing and evaluating the ability to bring this shuttered space back to life and transform the former planetarium into a multifaceted learning dome. With new technology and digital dual lens projector system, the program goes well beyond astronomy and includes subject matters like science, physics, arts, and much more that can be taught in that facility. Moreover, every student from K to 12 within the district will be able to utilize this unique learning environment, leaving a positive and impactful difference. We hope that extends to the community at large with after-school, evening, and summer programming, as has been discussed. While your foundation has funded many of the tech items that were previously mentioned, like VR goggles and other technology, to enhance students' knowledge and experience, we believe nothing can replace the experience and impact of the Learning Dome. So our commitment, as was previously mentioned, is $250,000, $250,000 from the foundation over the next 5 years. Our board evaluated this investment and assessed the benefits and impacts of this sizable donation before we actually committed to make this. At the end of the day, we believe the investment will pay dividends to our students for generations to come. Moreover, this investment literally touches the lives of every student in the district, as well as continue to play a vital role in our community. I want to refer back to the January 13th meeting as we looked at costs as were referenced actually in the discussion earlier this evening. And part of our commitment was to have a 10-year sustainability to the program, us being good stewards of these funds to invest in this project with the district. We were looking for at least having a 10-year sustainability of that program. And the cost for an educator and maintenance was about $112,000 a year. And it was referenced that's over 10 years, about $1,125,000. It's a large number. But put it in perspective, our budget at $150 million a year over 10 years would be $1.5 billion with the B dollars. And so that investment comes out to about 0.00075% of the expenses. We looked at that. We considered that with our investment, but we believe that investment is one worth taking and the impact that it will have. I also want to reference a social media post, which I don't do too often. I looked at a post from the meeting of the 13th, which a local news organizations have posted on social media about the ability to bring this dome back to life. Somebody made me aware of it. I looked at it in 4 days. Anybody who follows social media, Facebook in particular, there were 650 people who liked or loved the article. There was over 115 comments. Everyone was positive about the impact. And most notable was 135 shares, meaning that somebody shared this article to their own feed. Certainly, while social media should not dictate important business decisions, I think it's noteworthy and believe it gives you some insight and perspective. And most importantly, as I started and found myself reading through those comments, they were fellow classmates of mine, students from this district, residents from the district who felt that this had a profound impact and influenced their lives and, quite frankly, their career paths. So I think we have something very proud to be with that. So again, the foundation is here to pledge the $250,000 to help fund this project. We encourage you to carefully consider this and what impact it has to our district and to our community. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have with the foundation.
I just want to thank you for coming forward. I want to thank you and Mrs. Darrell for pushing toward getting this. I believe this is a huge step forward in education for 21st century educational means. What this can bring to Boyertown and to the students, I'm not even sure we can measure yet, because we haven't even talked about how AI can play into this as we're trying to move forward and make it do the things we want it to do. I know that people have put forward this and acted like this is they've asked about curriculum. That's the wrong question. The right question is, how does this support curriculum? And that's what it's supposed and designed to do. As far as base services, there's other planetariums in the country. We can probably find them. There's internet and there's phones and there's other things. And we can ask them, what kind of base services do they provide and what do they look like? Both of you coming forward to this and pushing, that's $350,000 you're willing to invest. And both of you are willing to put your names behind this, which shows that you are committed to it and you firmly believe that the Boyertown community is committed to it. If we say no, I'm going to really wonder what we believe education is all about in the 21st century, because maybe we don't. Other countries are catching us, other countries are passing us. We have to change how we think about education and the ways we go forward with it as we move. And this is a step. Is it a final step? No. Is this great leap forward? No, but it's a leap. And the fact that the community is willing to come here, and I feel we're making you beg us take your money. And I feel that. I absolutely feel that. And I'm embarrassed by that. Absolutely embarrassed. I saw comments by board members that this isn't needed. So let's not do it. I'm not gonna spend money on what isn't needed. Yet we spend money on stuff that's not needed every single time we come in here. Mountains of money. Unfortunately, I read a lot. Sometimes I hate to pick the paper up. I really do. And you sit there and you look and in the paper it had 1.1 million ongoing costs. Their O&M program costs. They would what we would pay on any program that we move forward on. They're not part of bringing this back. So what you're telling me is if a program comes in that we like, we're going to start saying we're not going to do it because we got to pay the teachers and a little bit of maintenance costs. That's ridiculous. On every level I can think of. That's absolutely ridiculous. You two are basically paying for this. When I look the numbers out and I think about how they're probably conservative in the cost of the district is nothing. Not 1.1 million, not $112,000. It's nothing. Because when you bring it down to the capital costs, and that's what we're talking about, capital costs, not O&M program costs, you're covered it. So that's like saying to me, here's 2 tickets to the Super Bowl for free. You want them? And me saying, no, I'd rather watch it on my TV screen at home. I just don't know any other way I can go forward or convince 8 other members of this board that moving forward this is in the best interest of the parents, the children, the district, Boyertown's reputation, and everything else about education that we have for almost no money. Thank you.
I appreciate your comments, and no, we don't feel like we're begging you to take your money. We weren't really.
That's me.
Yeah,
That's not you.
no, I appreciate that. We have enjoyed a great partnership. I mentioned 2013 for those newer to the board, and backstory is I was here. These 2 gentlemen were part of the 5 of us that founded the organization after a year and a half of a painful steering committee. And quite frankly, we exist for one reason only, and that's a great partnership we have with the district. That's the only reason we exist. And in totality, there has been significant investments, and quite frankly, we all have that vested interest. We did look at the Learning Dome very carefully because we have never funded something or any physical project. So it was a heavy lift for us in particular. Again, I could also speak as a student, one of the first class of students that was there. I won't do that, but I was back there the day that opened up as a 7th grade student. You can do the math on that. But I think beyond that, it really has become part of the community and know the impact it has on our students. And that's what we're about in the various aspects and covering all parts of the district, including something like this. So thank you.
One phrase that I think that you're bringing forward that I want to say is that the board should think about in the area of imagination. Don't think what is, think what can be. And that's where you need to go. If you really consider yourselves people for education, that's what you got to think about. You know what is, but think you need to lead to say this is what can be in the future.
You said you're willing to commit $250,000 over 5 years.
That's correct.
Okay. Suppose this really takes off and it's phenomenal. Would you consider donating any more if needed?
Certainly, I can't speak on behalf of the board. If there is a particular funding need for something like anything else, we have a grant request process that follows. And so I don't want to not answer your question, but quite frankly, I can't commit to the future. We're hoping to, again, raise a substantial part of that capital cost up front to show our support of it. And I don't know what that would be. I know our experts here with JT, who spoke at the 13th meeting briefly, and that's really describing, lose the word planetarium, and it's a learning dome in our sense of describing that any subject matter can be taught at any grade level in that environment. There is software and things of that nature that maybe she could better address that you would have available time to time, and the ongoing maintenance was a budget item, as Mr. Stout had put together in the presentation. So, I mean, the facility that's there now and the equipment that's there now was fired up for the 50th anniversary celebration of Middle School East. So it still got fired up. The seats are still there. I think this will last a long time with new seating and refresh, and now with digital equipment. And part of that cost was including the maintenance. So I think the board's always happy to entertain, grant requests, which really come through the district.
I think Mr. Dettelmeling has done a phenomenal job when he was here as a teacher down there. And the night of the anniversary over at East, he was phenomenal there as well. It's education. To me, it's not a question. There's educational value in this. And if we can help one student out of this, it makes it all worth it. This is a new way, a new technique, and it might just spark something in that child that has been having issues for years. And I think it's a phenomenal thing. And I'm glad both you and Mrs. Neroff are doing this. If the board rejects it, shame on them. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Herb. Ms. Darrow?
I'm sorry, I apologize. Did I walk way too quickly?
I am very appreciative of your foundation. I'm new to the board, but I'm not new to that community.
Right.
And so I am very aware of the wonderful things that your board, that your organization has done for the students in this community. I had 2 children who graduated from Boyertown High School and who visited the planetarium and was a part of the music program here. So again, there's a lot of wonderful things that I can attest to that my children experienced here. I'm also an educator outside of the Boyertown School District with 23 years of experience and knowledge about education, about ways in which children learn and develop. And there's always a struggle as to how do we as a community best serve our children with the finite amount of resources that we have. Certainly, it would be wonderful if we could and was able to do all the great things that come into our spaces and our thoughts that inspire children. But my concern, and I did speak in the past meeting, my concern in hearing what I heard at the last meeting about some of the other areas of concern in our community, being the performance levels. There's a lot that is going on in the district that requires funding. And what I heard about the performance levels at the previous meeting was very concerning to me. And my question about the planetarium and revising this wonderful space from the past is, okay, if we're expending monies, and I'm still not sure what is the amount, there's so many questions that I have about what exactly is the school district responsible for in the funding of all of this. Because I'm hearing about the needs of remediation, I'm hearing about the needs of a reading program for our children. That's a lot of money. We don't have a comprehensive reading program for our students. That requires a lot of spending. We need math interventions. That requires a lot of spending for us to be able to provide the support. Since COVID, our kids have nosedived, and they're not making the gains that other children are making in other districts. And if you don't believe that, go to Future Ready Index. Look at the performance levels of our children. And this is across the board, that we're having these issues that Dr. David Heiser and his staff, that they put together this comprehensive plan of how we need to lift up the performance levels of our children. It requires money to do that. This MTSS plan, it's a framework of interventions to bring up the performance level of our students, because they're not doing as well as they did back in the days of the planetarium. And so I say to you, I love the idea of bringing the planetarium back to life and doing all of these things. But as a priority, if we're only having a certain amount of money for spending, I say that we spend it on the remediations and supporting the performance levels, of getting those performance levels back to where they used to be. And I don't think the planetarium is going to do that.
Dr. Wiley, if I could, I appreciate your comments. Were you questioning, just for my clarification? I can't answer most of your questions. I appreciate your comments. But it relates to the planetarium, where your questions, was there a question in there as far as not knowing what the actual costs are? Because we do have those. And I wanted to make sure that was not your question, or I didn't misunderstand you.
Okay, I'm wondering about what is the obligation that the district would
Right.
have in bringing this back to life, and also as a former administrator, I know the busing and the scheduling, the master schedules, all these things that need to come into play when you're trying to move children across the district to have access to this space, that it is going to be taking away from instructional time. There's so many frameworks now that are in place whereby teachers only have certain amount of time in the classroom to address the curriculums, and by moving children from point A to point B, that you're losing instructional time, and how they will be able to make up those kinds of deficits when we do have standards and we have these frameworks that were not in place back in the times of the planetarium. And I know I'm going off on a tangent, and I apologize to you for that. But I just question, how is all of that? It's not as simple as it seems, that we can just bring the planetarium back into life and that kids are going to have the opportunity to get there because it is so much more complicated than that. And that's the part, the big question mark is how would we be able to do that?
Yeah, I appreciate your passion. Like I said, I won't be able to answer most of this questions, but I did see someone was so kind to pull up the presentation you should have that Mr. Stout put together for the January 13th meeting. And this slide is actually showing the allocation for the teacher transportation and the annual maintenance, which was where that 112,500 a year, 112,500 was referenced from the January 13th. If you go back, and I know our experts here, so I don't really take a step on anyone's shoes, that was the cost to estimated cost is strictly, again, underlying estimated projections for flooring, demolition, dealing with the aspects of lighting, all the aspects of preparing that room and demoing the current room as it exists. And then the slide before that, actually, that was chairs. And there was a slide that actually showed the two projector systems. And again, I'm looking at JT. She's the expert. I'm up here at the mic, so maybe you want to jump in here. But the recommendation, as I understood, was for the SSIA Technologies, the one on the right side of your screen, for $276,000 as far as the hardware cost. So as it relates to, and again, I appreciate your passion, Dr. Wiley, and beyond the tangent, going back to the planetarium, though, I want to be clear because we also struggle with this as a board. This was a big investment for us. At the end of the day, it was a unanimous decision to put forth this pledge for $250,000 after analyzing what impact we're doing with the district. And our bylaws are very specific. Our bylaws were written by us in a certain way that controls where and how we spend that money and what things we fund. And this falls into that bucket. But that was a hard cost plus the chairs you saw, and I'll call the demo and refitting of the room, probably not the proper terminology, but and then we got to the total cost annually of about $12,500. I just wanted to make sure that part of your question was answered. Is that okay? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Grove, hold on, Mr. Herb.
No, I think that's all right. I just wanted to say, to all of your points, Dr. Wiley, as far as, bringing our students up and getting the supports that they need and the money that we need for that, the amount that the district needs to cover for this, what funds would they be coming out of, right? Paying the teacher obviously comes from one place, but any other additional renovations, that be a capital fund, I would assume, right? And so that wouldn't help with supporting more teachers and supports anyway, because we can't use it there.
Yeah, that's correct. The reoccurring costs, that 112,000 that you saw, that would be part of the general budget, right? That would be something that we would budget in annually.
Part of the $155 million budget for this year.
Or in addition to.
So
Sure.
the
Part of the $150+ million budget is we found these respect.
all right, you guys done?
Oh, yeah.
Part of this, and when you look at the two options, we wanted to present a couple of options to the board. There's differential in costs when it comes to the projection systems, the sound and lighting, the hardware, really the makeup of that. So that's where you see the difference in two prices. I would ask Mrs. Deroff, can I just slide JT down in and to talk just for a few minutes, if I could, JT? And Mrs. Moyer, if you could please go back to the slide that indicates the two options on the multitude of hardware. Yeah, that slide, thank you. I've asked Ms. Town to come this evening just to mostly speak to this slide and her expertise in the field of planetariums. To just share with you really a recommendation. The options are there, and the money is different, right? So I'm missing, there it is. Okay. So just under $100,000 difference in terms of the options what make up. When we talk about this type of equipment, yes, let's be through the capital projects fund, which we would purchase these. these, we can't do these over years. This is you're purchasing that in one fall swoop to install those things. And based on the two nonprofit organizations, they would have a fund that we would receive annually across 5 years, making up what looks to be well above or close to what the two different options are in terms of that. The reoccurring costs, like I said, and chairs and other small things that we still may not have thought of, or as we get into the project a little bit deeper, what the possibilities might be there or other incurred costs, but we estimate just over $100,000 of recurring costs to maintain that. So, Ms. Town, can you just share with the board a little bit the difference here? We're talking about nearly $100,000 in equipment that I know you and Mr. Stout have visited numerous places and have been tied to kind of coming with these recommendations. Can you speak more specifically to these and maybe making a recommendation to the board if you were a representative school board member, what would your recommendation be based on your knowledge of these two types of systems?
Okay, sure. Well, there are actually more than 2 sources in the world for digital dome display systems for teaching. But we've looked at criteria such as whether the company is in the US, close by, accessible for, to get help when you need it. We've looked at systems that offer a 4K resolution display and come down to these 2 that you see here. There's as far as ease of use and software capability, opportunities for multi-use, they're quite similar. We could also look at compatibility and collaboration with other schools. There are no fewer than 15 Pennsylvania schools that have digital planetarium systems now, and that number is growing, and about the same number of Pennsylvania colleges with digital planetarium systems. So there are opportunities for doing dome casting and sharing in educational programs with other places. So those are some of the items I've looked at and talked about with the school district here. Also, these 2 companies listed here, one is a big giant company on the left side, option 1. And I had listed for the district that they're located in Pennsylvania and Utah. Since the time that I listed that, the company COSM has reduced the number of planetarium technicians and trainers at the Pennsylvania location down to 1, and still have some in Utah, but they're not as close by as they don't have as many staff close by to help schools in Pennsylvania, and the system is more expensive, and considering the capabilities are pretty similar with SSIA. They're located in New Hampshire. Their software is based on the Skyscan dark matter software, and it's used in a couple of Pennsylvania schools near here. I think that the SIA system might be a good choice. If I were to buy a planetarium to be located here, that's probably what I would choose.
Questions for Ms. Town from the technical side?
What is the STEM aspect of option 1 that I don't see on option 2?
What was the
STEM.
STEM? Well, there's a little bit more built-in STEM in the software of option 1, but there's certainly some in option 2 as well. And someday I can show you a video that was provided from the SIA company showing some of their STEM built-in content. And You know, as far as shows that are like dome movies, they play on any system. So there's no difference there as far as what it will play from the outside world.
What is the ease of creating something, in-house to, as it supports a certain curriculum such as
Yeah.
science, biology?
Excellent question. There is a learning curve to these systems. It's a computer-based system. So if you want to build lessons, live lessons and content and guide students in doing so, I would recommend a teacher who has very strong computer skills, file transfer skills, file backup skills, those kinds of things. There's a good amount of training that comes with any of these systems. But even after the training, I would say that it really takes a few months to get in a groove where you know how to build a lesson and build a show. You have to do a little bit of practice. You have to build up, kind of like maybe with anything else. But yeah, these companies have worked hard to make the software easy to use so that even students can use it. And we've also looked at having a separate computer for students to use offline, but they could also develop content, multimedia shows, music shows in the planetarium using the main keyboard, mouse, and monitors.
So schools has its own IT department, should be able to work through these problems, correct?
What's the problem?
None. That's what I'm getting at. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of, I've been encouraging this district to talk to other districts that have digital planetariums and are having great success. They're using the planetariums even for math and reading programs. They're using them for, I think there's another word for English as a second language now. Sorry, I don't know what it is, but they're using it in support of English as people learning English. They're having great success with special ed students in the planetarium and programs. The Facton School District in Eagleville, North Penn High School in Lansdale, Allentown schools. I could tell you more. Those are three of the close by ones, Aston, Lancaster. So I would encourage you to, find out about those programs. I can research for you and report back if you like, if you can't go and talk to them yourselves.
I thought I knew which one it was. There was Eastern Lebanon just
Yes,
reopened
Eastern Lebanon is another one.
in 2023, so pretty recently is when they reopened theirs.
Yes, that's a good example.
So maybe we could learn some things from them.
Yeah, and it's possible that they have the SIA, SSIA system from New Hampshire. I'm not sure. I think so.
I think the Reading Museum had a planetarium up and running too.
They do, and they have a system from Cosm, Evans, and Sutherland. Column 1. Mhm. But it's easier to have collaboration and compatibility with places that have your same brand of software, planetarium software, just so for file sharing purposes. But speaking of the Reading, they do a lot of special events there, and they rent out the facility, and the planetarium director does a lot of custom visuals because he can, accomplish that in a couple of hours in support of lots of special events and meetings and rentals.
Any further questions for JT? Well, thank you for being here this evening
Sure thing.
with us. Thank you. And Mrs. Kuroff? Mr. Daroff represents Stellar Dreams as our other nonprofit entity that's shown interest in helping to support the planetarium. Mr. Daroff.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. Just a little bit of background. When Mr. Murphy first mentioned the planetarium, why is it sitting there? We're not doing anything with it. It lit a light bulb, and from there I took off. I started a nonprofit called Stellar Dream. Got myself some board members, people that were very interested. The biggest thing I did was go over and talk to Pete Detterline. He ran our planetarium for 35 years. So what you're about to watch tonight is the rebirth of a place that once defied science education in our district. And we can do so again at a level we've never reached before. Now all this is going to cost money. So I started thinking outside of the box and come up with the idea. We're always putting more expense on the community. So let's give the community something back. That's why I started the nonprofit. Well, we started the nonprofit. So what we intended to do, and I talked to Dr. David Heiser about this, was rent the planetarium for all the times that it was not in use by our children in the school hours, which would be evenings, weekends, summers, holidays, and do shows. And at that point, we would have money to pay the district for the use. Therefore, they would have money if there was any repairs or anything else they had to buy. Because I didn't just intend to use it once. This would be used continuously. Holidays, we would have holiday shows. We would have birthday parties. We would even have weddings if somebody wanted one. Can you imagine a wedding in the planetarium? We would have dinner and a show. There's all kinds of activities we could do in there. You wouldn't have to necessarily use the cafeteria or anything. Thank you. We could just have it catered. There's many, many aspects of things we could use. In fact, I was so excited about this, I got prices to use the facility, and that shouldn't be a problem. What we would do is have a IT person learn and get trained on this equipment, more than one, so that we could keep using it all the time. When one person wouldn't be able to, we'd have someone else that could. So I would like to turn this over to Mr. Detterline, and I think he can explain more. I have a lot more I would love to say, but we spend a lot of time on this, and I don't want to get the people bored, so go ahead, Pete.
Thank you. Imagine being a child sitting beneath a dome of stars, watching planets move, galaxies collide, and questions spark that no textbook could ever ignite. That experience once lived in the Boyertown Planetarium. And now, thanks to renewed vision and community support, it can live again as a state-of-the-art digital learning dome. After the last board meeting, like Mr. Herb, I also looked at the Pottstown Mercury and on Facebook, and the response was overwhelming. Like he said, there were 653 likes, 143 positive comments, 138 shares. And that level of engagement tells us something important. This isn't nostalgia talking. It's community coming together in recognition of the undeniable power of hands-on, immersive learning. And one of those comments on Facebook said it perfectly. Learning in a textbook doesn't do it justice. Seeing it in 3D form and sitting under the stars is rewarding. It's something every kid should see. Jackie Rothenberger. A digital learning dome does what classrooms simply cannot do. Instead of imagining orbit patterns, students can watch them unfold above their heads. Instead of memorizing facts, they can experience science. Research consistently shows that immersive visual learning improves retention, curiosity, and critical thinking, especially for students who don't thrive in traditional lecture settings. Not just theory, we have proof. Maria Trotter shared the planetarium was an incredible learning experience that made the school day exciting and memorable. I will always remember those visits. Others went further. Jennifer Nymark wrote that the planetarium inspired my future, leading her to earn a minor in astronomy and teach her own elective course. And Amanda Mayberg credited the planetarium right here at Boyertown with sparking a lifelong passion that led to a graduate degree in astrophysics. And today she works at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. That is the ripple effect of inspiration. One visit, one moment of wonder, and a lifetime is changed. And that was with the old planetarium. This modern digital learning dome expands those possibilities even more. Students get to explore not only astronomy and related earth sciences, but biology, history, art, emerging technologies. It becomes a shared resource for schools, families, and the wider community. And the most important part, as they've said, we're more than halfway there. Thanks to the Boyertown Foundation, Stellar Dream, $350,000 of the cost is already allocated. The vision is real, the support is real, and the only question left is whether we choose to invest in curiosity, imagination, and opportunity for the next generation. Reopening the planetarium and turning it into a learning dome isn't about looking back. It's about looking up. It's about looking forward. Let's give our students more than pages to read. Let's give them stars to reach for. Thank you.
Thank you. So if anybody has any other questions, we'll be happy to answer them for you. Yes.
Okay, not to put Mr. Detterline on the spot, but in your tenure here at Boyertown, what did you see with a student that was not learning, not picking things up? What happened after he came down to the planetarium?
Okay, make sure I have the question. Once a student gets to the planetarium,
Okay, a student that hasn't been learning, hasn't been picking things up in science or whatever, comes down to the planetarium and sees all of this. Have you experienced how that took off for somebody that was slow learning or was having a hard time picking up on something?
we've had lots of different groups in the planetarium, including special ed classes, and successfully working with them in there. Because things in the planetarium during my time were always interactive. And I would hope that would be true at the Learning Dome as well. And I'm sure the Learning Dome director will certainly be a part of making that interactive for the students, because we want to see how they respond and how they work with that and how they move through.
I like how you said about special ed because I had some special ed children that I drive, because I drive van. And there were a couple of them that are particularly into the planets and that, and I think that would be an awesome thing for them to do, is to go there. I know I have a question for Mrs. Darrell, but I think I had another one. Oh, what do you think of those two options, those two different options?
I've looked at both, and both are excellent. I think you're going to do well with either of those.
Have you used either of them?
I have not. I have used a digital planetarium at Kutztown, but that was a totally different type of projector that they had there.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
My next question then is for Mrs. Darrell. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Mr. Herb. If Stellar Dreams sees this taking off, and we need more finances from you. Will you commit to more money?
I think that depends on how much we get to use the facility, because we're giving a commitment to rent it. The more we rent it, the more money we're gonna pay to the district. So, I see a stream of money continuously coming into the district through us.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mrs. Daroff, you had asked if your video could be shown this evening,
Yes,
and the answer to that is yes. So we're going to put that up for the board.
okay, good.
Stellar Dreams has a video that I've shared with the board already. However, it was asked if it could be displayed this evening. So, Ms. Moyer, if you could please
Thank you.
pull that up.
There's a room where the stars still whisper inside these Boyertown halls, where children gaze with a wonder why and reach for something small. We watch the old light fade away, but the spark was never gone. Now a stellar dream is rising, and it's calling us along. So let's light the sky again. Let the children see beyond the end. Every spark of hope begins with a stellar dream within. From the ground here in Boyertown to the heavens we ascend. Come on, friends, let's light the sky again.
Once, there was a place where the stars came alive, a beloved planetarium where curiosity soared and young minds reached for galaxies beyond their own. The time has taken its toll. The lights have dimmed, the equipment outdated, the sky has gone quiet. Until now. A new era is about to begin. A cutting-edge Digistar projector is rising from the silence, ready to carry us across the cosmos. This system will completely transform our planetarium into an immersive digital classroom. Students will be able to fly through galaxies, land on Mars, dive into Earth's oceans, and explore physics, biology, and space in ways that no textbook could ever match. Because it's more than a projector. It's a portal to knowledge. And it will benefit not just our students, but our entire community. But we need your help. We're raising funds to upgrade the projector, refresh the seats, and bring hands-on programs to every school in the district. So whether you're a former student, a parent, science lover, or just someone who believes in the power of education, this is your chance to make a lasting impact. Every gift is a launch pad. Sponsor a seat, fund a field trip, or bring an entirely new universe to life. Donate now at stellardream.net. Together, we can keep our kids dreaming, discovering, and reaching for the stars, because the sky is not the limit.
wanna share life. Yeah, we'll live a stellar dream tonight.
Right here, curiosity meets the cosmos. Together, we can make the universe accessible, inspiring, and unforgettable. Your support ensures that this encounter continues for generations to come, so that the next great discovery can begin under our own stars. Join us today and help turn curiosity into lifelong wonder.
There's one thing I wanted to add. On there, it says about the website. The website is not live yet. Until the board makes a decision, that will not be made live. It's there. We finally got it all done, but it won't be activated until the board makes a decision. So does anybody have any other questions now? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Darrell. Thank you, Mr. Dell, and thank you, Mr. Herb, for sharing the information. Anything else with the board? I would recommend to the board that you take some consideration time. I would recommend that we bring this back at our next legislative meeting on the 24th. That would be 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, for your consideration as to whether this project would move forward or not. And in the interim, if there's any further information needed or necessary, please contact Mr. Stout or myself, and we'll try to get that information in your hands as quickly as possible.
Dr. David Heiser, would it be possible for you to have the smart board and the OmniVision? Could we have a sampling of what is possible with the virtual experiences with the smart board?
Not sure what it is you're driving at. So a smart board is a flat screen, right? Simple two-dimensional component. I think the structure, the difference here in that what a dome provides, it creates a different structure, visual structure, right? It's an enhanced learning, visual learning tool, or enhanced learning space visually for individuals. The smart boards that and screens that you see in our classrooms do not give those aspects to things. It doesn't necessarily can give depth of what it is that a dome delivers in a visual learning experience.
I was under the impression that the district did have the goggles, the OmniVision goggles, that give the three-dimensional experiences
yeah.
similar to the dome.
Yeah, they're not smart boards, right? They're the goggles themselves. So the foundation purchased those goggles, and this is many years ago. I'm going to have to find out whether and what operational aspects those are, if we can have any demonstration done with regard to those. They are individual in nature, right? They're not a board that you bring in and everybody's experiencing that same thing as the goggles that are individualized.
Right, but you would need a projection for the goggles, is why I thought
Yeah.
the smart boards.
Yeah, you're correct in that. I'm trying to see what it is. Let me talk to IT and let me see what we can do. All right, if I can bring that back for the 3rd to our committee of the whole meeting for a demonstration of information, and we can share that information. I do not know what shape those. I know what shape our boards are in. I'm not sure what shape those goggles are in. So we'll need to find out, and whatever updates have been or not been done with regard to those.
Treasurer's report.
I wanted to speak and comment too, or did I just advance? We didn't get there yet. Oh, okay.
I didn't mean to clear the room, but it's been a while since I've been here, and there are new board members, so I just want to say welcome. Tonight, I'm going to be presenting both November and December treasurer's reports. Beginning with November, local revenue delinquent tax collection was $122,848.42. Earned income tax collection was $526,228.87, and transfer tax collection was $100,542.15. Quite a bit of state revenue that came in that month. Basic ed funding, transportation, and retirement were all for the last fiscal year for 24-25. This came from the budget that finally passed, unfortunately delinquently. So basic ed funding was $5,660,706. $249,844 for transportation. Retirement was $2,977,893.21. And the remaining that I'm about to speak about was the 25 and 26 school year. Special ed was $2,407,950. Pre-K counts was $141,750. And Social Security was $466,438.03. And for November expenditures, for salaries, benefits, and professional services, they accounted for 75% of the monthly expenditures. And on to December. Delinquent tax collection was $41,628.71. Earned income tax collection was $840,372.20. And transfer tax collection was $94,541.55. All state revenue that we received for December is currently for the current fiscal year. It's $2,830,353.30 for basic ed funding. Pupil transportation was $1,124,296. Retirement was $1,037,516. And pre-K counts was $189,000. And for the December expenditures for salaries, benefits, and professional services, it came to 80% of the total expenditures for the month. And that concludes my report. Any questions? Thank you.
At this time, we're looking for an approval of the treasurer's report for November 5th, 2025 as reported.
I'll second.
Ms. Connor,
Yes.
Ms. Kratz,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Braddock,
Yes.
Mr. Roderick,
Yes.
Dr. Weir,
Yes.
Dr. Wiley,
Yes.
Mr. Brophy,
Yes.
Mr. Penarello.
Yes.
Ayes have it.
And at this time, we'll be calling for a motion for the December 6th, 2025 treasurer's report as presented.
I'll motion.
We're seconds.
Ms. Connor,
Yes.
Ms. Kratz,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Braddock,
Yes.
Mr. Roderick,
Yes.
Dr. Weir,
Yes.
Dr. Wiley,
Yes.
Mr. Brophy,
Yes.
Mr. Penarello.
Yes.
Ayes have it.
Item number 9, superintendent's consent agenda. As you can see listed there, items A through K are board policies or ARs, administrative regulations, that have gone through committee. They've gone through the work session and are for your consideration here as a first read. Under item L, the IDEA B agreement, again, as explained by Mr. Lentz at our last meeting, is a flow-through agreement for our IDEA funding that must come through the BCIU. Item M is a ProCare client assignment confirmation, and again, this is for nursing for a student in our life skills program. And under item N, an Anderson school placement agreement, the board has been made aware of. Under item O, are required bids for our fall athletic equipment and uniforms and alike. Under item P, the overnight trips that were described earlier in the informational section are listed there for your consideration. And then under item Q is the donation list that was described at our last work session. There are no additions to that donation list. So under item R, administration is recommending to the board to approve the consent agenda as listed.
Tyler, all those.
Second. Ms. Connor,
Yes.
Ms. Kratz,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Rafter. Yes. Mr. Rogers. Yes. Dr. Weir.
Yes.
Dr. Wiley.
Yes.
Mr. Booth.
Yes.
Mr. Penrose.
Yes.
Ayes have it.
Item 10, the superintendent's report itemized agenda. Under item A, we are asking for your consideration and for approval of the 2026-2027 school district calendar. Just as a footnote that we did make those two changes as described by Dr. Weir in September. That day has been moved, in October, the day has been moved to the 12th, and in April, again, the same day has been shifted to align with a weekend rather than established inside the week.
Tyler, all those.
I have concerns over not having snow days in there. These days, whatever they are,
It's days.
they're, what are our children learning? What are our children learning on those days?
The children have assignments that are listed inside of that correlate with the time of which, their focus is and whatnot through that. They are asynchronous, meaning they have some days to get those things accomplished and completed. The days are created and have been created by the state to be emergent, right? As emergent, they're not a regular thing that we need to get done. In absence of those, we would have to place snow days into the calendar to which would extend the calendar, or we would have to make up days beyond those snow days. So for instance, if we put snow days in, our calendar would be extended beyond whatever those are if we did not allow FID days. And if we were, in today's world, if we were then adding snow days to the back end of the calendar, they're well beyond our PSSA testing points. We want to front end as much as we can to meet the needs of, and we talk about curriculum, we talk about programming. I think one of the things that has accelerated it exponentially across the last 10 to 15 years has been the amount of content and requirement to meet the standards that are necessary, deliver the instruction necessary to meet those standards. A FID allows us to continue that in the moment of time. While it may not be a direct instructional period for that, it does help us to create a continuum of learning during a time period where we don't expect it to be long, a day or two, and allows us to get through that without having to add additional days to the calendar to meet the hours or the day commitment. So that's really the behind the scenes, why is there a FID?
There is no educational value from what I've been hearing from the kids.
Okay. Well,
They would rather have been outside on a snow day, having a good time, and making that day up if they had to.
Well, I meet regularly with student advisory groups, and their answers to that are just the opposite. Because a FID really allows them the flexibility to do everything you just said and create a continuum of learning. While we're not stacking necessarily 8 consecutive hours into a school day with a FID, gives the students flexibility while they're home go out and they wanted to do some things in the snow, but come back in during some of the time in which they aren't and allow them some opportunity to do some learning at the same time. So I think it meets both needs of what some people may remember to be a traditional snow day. I think the world has shifted a little bit where we can use technology to the best interest of everyone at the time to deliver a continuum of learning.
Those students that need that education, that structure of an in-class thing, of teacher teaching to them and having that help there, this is not helping them.
Well, and thankfully, we don't often run into these days. We just don't, right? Last year, we used 1. The year before, I think Boyertown used 0. This year, we've used 3 thus far. There are emergent days that aren't consistent in nature and allow, like I said, the process and continuum of learning to continue without having to lengthen the calendar days or us to have to, add on the back end days to the end of a school year, well beyond the time of when testing is done and so forth, which we know the learning that takes place during those periods of time are probably not as beneficial as they are during a FID period of time, because they're not necessarily in the continuum of learning when everything has concluded. So I do really defend the opportunity to utilize FIDs, and really from a requirement standpoint, a school district any longer can move to virtual at any point in time as long as it continues to meet FATE. And that's free and appropriate education for our students. We obviously know that we want to maintain as much consistent in-school presence time as we possibly can. But there's days in which it's going to be unsafe for us to travel, or we can't get things prepared in time. And this really acts as an opportunity for us to continue along the same path without really losing much in that time period.
Dr. David Heiser, just as a point of clarification from PDE, school districts are permitted 5 per year. Is that correct?
So they're allotted 5 per year if you do register for FIDs. You don't need to register for FIDs, and you can move a school district into virtual learning any number of days that you care to. And it still allows for the counting of days as long as you're meeting FATE. Now, in a continuum of learning and in emergent times, a FID can benefit us by doing those types of things. Long sustained periods of time or a consistent flipping to a virtual is certainly, as we try to meet the needs of all students, including students with IEPs, on a very consistent basis. That becomes a very struggle point for us to do. We have registered for FID days, so therefore we're required to put together a plan. It's approved through the Pennsylvania Department of Education. It has all the steps of how we meet FATE and all the steps and requirements of our schedule and the things that we're doing with regard to attendance and so forth that go along with that. So we've used 3 out of the 5 days. If we were to go beyond that and have to take other days, there's other days that we could take. We also have a requirement to meet either 180 days or 990 hours or 900 hours, depending on the level of secondary or elementary. So we do get into, we're certainly fine with 5 FID days, and we still have some other days to which we could go virtual, but we start to get into some difficulty when it comes to hours, most especially with our kindergarten students, because we only have them for a half day right now, and there isn't a lot of flexibility inside there where they're doing transitional time through hallways to get to the next class. Those types of minutes don't count. We have educational time to which we account for and have to identify annually. So we're fine inside the FID. We would be fine if we were to flip to some other, if suddenly we had, many more snowstorms. But we are responsible to meet either the 180 days, which this calendar reflects 180 days. And we're well beyond the hour requirements at both levels right now. And again, kindergarten becomes the one that becomes the closest in nature. And if you don't meet that, and many school districts don't meet the hours or don't meet the days, you have reduced subsidies from the state. And that's where from some school districts. For some school districts, as an example, may give seniors a opportunity to go out and do a somewhat informal internship for the last 3 weeks of the school year. Some school districts decide to take that subsidy penalty due to the fact that the seniors would not meet the requirements set by PDE in doing that, but the school district itself believes that the benefit of them doing that last step project and internship far exceeds what a reduced subsidy would be in regards to that.
Great, thank you.
I'll call the roll. Ms. Connor?
Yes.
Ms. Kratz?
Yes.
Ms. Hammond?
No.
Mr. Brad Upgrove?
Yes.
Mr. Roger Upgrove?
Yes.
Dr. Weir?
Yes.
Dr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mr. Brophy?
Yes.
Mr. Penrell?
Yes.
Ayes have it.
Under item B, the district vehicle bid award, I'm going to have Mr. Lentz explain a little of this when we get to the question and discussion area if the motion gets to the floor. But this is the bid award as explained a little bit during the committee of the whole meeting. So administration does recommend awarding the vehicle bid for one heavy-duty pickup maintenance truck and two 10-passenger MPV school vans to Fred Beans of Boyertown in the amount of $177,609.
Darrell moves.
I'll second.
Mr. Lyons, if you can just fill in a couple of the details for the board.
Sure, so it was identified that there was a number of vehicles that had reached the end of their useful life. And so I worked to put together a schedule to address the replacement cycle, to not have them all hit at once. So pretty much we're targeting 2 student vans and a truck with a plow, hookup for maintenance that we put out for bid. We're awarding the lowest bid, which is Fred Beans. And also moving forward, we'll incorporate into our general budget the replacement each year of these vehicles so that we don't land that they have reached, an end of their life, that there's kind of more of a desperate need, which is what I came into hearing from the high school and from the review of the maintenance inventory for vehicles. And so this will get us on track and get these in place.
So we're selling 3 vehicles, so these are replacing direct, or are we junking them? What are we doing?
Yes, so the pickup truck that we're replacing, we'll sell it as a surplus item, it's a bid or something like that. Same with the other vans.
Okay, so you're basically putting that for salvage?
Yeah, there's a free program called Municipid that it's like a Facebook auction or whatever type of thing, like eBay, but it targets bidders. Nobody knows what people bid, closes out, goes to the highest bidder. They pay all the fees, and we return over the vehicles to them.
Good, thank you.
Real quick, I know we talked about this in the beginning of December. What are the 10-passenger vans utilized for? Is that during the day? Is that transporting from home to a school or school to home? How are they being used?
My understanding is they're used for student activities, student transports, college visits, things like that.
Mostly before and after school needed. It also does take our special education students to a number of their grow areas in the community when they need to be transported to different areas as well. Athletic teams, after school, things of that nature. So they're highly utilized, both during the day and after school.
Thank you.
What is the lifespan of these vehicles?
So it's a combination based on the mileage. Like a truck that doesn't go a significant amount of miles, you can probably get 10 years out of that, just based upon upkeep and everything else of that. The school vans, if I'm recalling, some of them are well over 10 years. For that, I think you get on a replacement cycle, I think it's every 5 to 7 years, but also then if you replace them, if there's still some life left, you cycle them down. So we could potentially use vehicles that we don't, feel are at the right place for students, but use them for courier service throughout the district, right? Because that's more localized and going further distances, as well as looking at any maintenance that needs and, the point at which the maintenance costs are so much, it's in our interest to buy a new vehicle.
So 3 vehicles these are replacing are going to be put to rest.
Yeah, we'll auction them off for
Does that happen to be one that's sitting back at a garage right now for over a year now?
the maintenance one, I believe is, yes.
I think that was a mail delivery van or something that's been there for over a year now. I hope we're not paying for them to have it back there.
I don't believe so. Call the vote. Ms. Connor,
Yes.
Ms. Kratz,
Yes.
Ms. Knight,
Yes.
Mr. Braddock, to growth.
Yes.
Mr. Roger, to growth.
Yes.
Dr. Weir,
Yes.
Dr. Wiley,
Yes.
Mr. Brophy,
Yes.
Mr. Penarella.
Yes.
Ayes have it.
Under item C, personnel, the administration does recommend the board of directors approve the personnel agenda and the items listed.
Penarella moves.
I'll second.
Deb, sorry.
I see that we're losing a teacher with 40 years. Congratulations to her for being here for 40 years. Also one with 21 years as counselor and 20 and a half years as a counselor. And then we have a 24-year one for food services. Thank them for all their service. However, I see we got resignations again. Half a year, 12 years, 3 1/4 years, 2 years. What's going on there again? Do we know why they're,
Yeah, I can tell you what.
Mr. Hahn, do we need to step into an exec session?
For at least one of them, we would, yes.
Brief recess?
Sure.
We can do that?
Sure.
Mr. Panarella? In order to discuss these, we need to step into a brief
Does
recess.
the board need a recess to discuss this?
I'd like to know why they're leaving.
Last person.
Yeah, that would be appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be appropriate for an executive session.
Brief recess for executive session.
The purpose of executive session is obviously personnel. Roll call.
Survival of the fittest.
Even that's a long time.
Ms. Connor?
Yes.
Ms. Kratz?
Here.
A roll call, Sir Dave.
Yes.
Ms. Hyman?
Yes.
Mr. Braddock?
Yes.
Mr. Roger?
Yes.
Dr. Weir?
Yes.
Dr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mr. Brophy?
Yes.
Mr. Penrose?
Yes.
Ayes have it.
Under item 11, old business, there is none at this time.
Public comment period number 2, Nadia Savage, Planetarium.
Hi again. My first comments were intended to help you, give you like a framework and how to think about the planetarium, knowing that, well, I didn't know that there was going to be so much support here for it. But I just wanted to follow up on that again and think about questions or suggest questions you might ask, such as, what's the timeline driving this? What's the urgency? Is it worthwhile to learn more until you know more about your budget and more about what other needs there are? I think it is important to visit a planetarium like Eastern Lebanon's and see really what it is, because I don't know about you, but for me, I hear about it, it sounds really, really cool, but it's really hard to put yourself in there in this new technology and learn about what other schools are achieving through their planetariums. Ask them what their outcomes are from that. I would also ask you to work with administration and try to help them elucidate for you the learning outcomes expected versus the time that the kids would be outside of the classroom or in the bus. Or to tie this to your strategy and your goals. How does this particular thing tie to the strategic plan you just all worked very hard on and the goals? And to help you prioritize this with other expenditures that are needed. And then I think one other thing you might explore is other 21st century technology. I've heard this idea of VR goggles talked about. I know my experience with them through my job, through a little bit of gaming with my kids, is that you're there, you actually can be with the other people that are participating. And in my job, the coolest thing I got to do was take these VR goggles and hold a molecule and turn it and make it a little bigger so I could see inside of it. And imagine that seems like 21st century technology. So maybe you want to explore what else is available. It sounds like we maybe have some of these goggles available and maybe they're outdated at this time. I don't know, but just I'm adding suggestions for you to look further into this topic. Thank you for listening.
Question, Leah, Planetarium.
Thank you for letting me talk. My husband and I moved in, what I can do?
Just press that button.
This one? Yes. Okay, well, technology is not very good, but my husband and I moved into this area in 1972 because of the good school district. And I hate to say, when I read the statistics the other day about reading and math, I thought, well, things are really going down. But I must admit too, this planetarium sounds really, really neat. But I don't think we're getting the whole picture. When I learned about the statistics about what the kids are learning in the big fancy planetarium, if we only had so much money, it'd be like getting a big fancy house for your family or food for a lifetime. What would you pick? So I think you've got to look at what the kids are really learning when it comes to getting this planetarium. And if we could have both, could we have both? Like maybe could you get historic grants for the planetarium and then put the money from the foundation into the learning system? I just don't want you to overlook and buy the big shiny coin if it's not really helping the kids. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Board comment period.
No, not at this time.
Yeah.
I just want to remind everyone to get their tickets for the drowsy chaperone.
Nothing at this time, thank you.
I would like to in some way acknowledge the people who have all the years of experience in the district as a board to do something, I don't know, in some way to acknowledge the years of service that they have provided for this community.
Yeah, I want to thank you, student representative, for your little speech there. Thank you.
I don't know much to add. I believe our wrestling team had to wrestle at 7 o'clock for districts. So hopefully they do well. I don't know the outcome. That's it.
Just a reminder to the board, again, this was an off week that we rescheduled for due to the weather last week. So just a reminder to everyone here at the board and our public that next week we'll be back here for a committee of the whole meeting. We'll begin at 6 o'clock with a finance committee meeting, followed by the committee of the whole meeting at 7.
Motion to adjourn.
We're seconds.
Meeting adjourned.